Hi guys, and welcome back. So today we're going to dive into volume, and we're going to talk about the volume of a cylinder. But before we even get to that, we have to talk about what do we already know. And so in your definitions that you did yesterday, you already know how to find area. And so if I asked you the area of a rectangle, you know that you would do what? So we know, and hopefully you answered, that you would multiply length times width, right? And we could measure this thing and figure out the area within. And what about the area of a circle? In order to find the area of a circle, we have to know what? So if you said that you are going to end up multiplying by pi, you are correct. If you also know that you need to know the radius, you are also correct. So the diameter of a circle in your definitions yesterday, you recall it is from one side of the circle, a straight line through the center, to the other side of the circle. That is your diameter. But when we're talking about the area of a circle, we want radius. And what is radius compared to diameter? It is half. Good. So half of the diameter from the center of the circle to the outside, which is a part of the circumference of that circle, that's your radius, right? So we need radius in order to determine the area of this circle. All right, so the area of a circle is, if you said 2 pi r, you're close. That is the circumference of a circle. But in order to find the area within, that should be pi r squared. So we know it involves a circle, so we're going to be multiplying by pi. So now that takes us to volume. So if you look at something like this cylinder here, if we were to fill this cylinder with water all the way up, now we're talking about the space within, and that is what volume is. So we see here that the base of this cylinder is what shape? Yes, it is a circle. So let's go back to this circle here. We know how to find the area of a circle, which again is pi r squared. So we take that area, and what do you think you are going to multiply that by in order to get the entire volume of this cylinder? I'll give you a minute to think about that. So if you said that you would multiply it by its height, or even if you said length, that is correct. So we are going to take the area of a circle, pi r squared, and multiply it by the height of the cylinder. And you have found volume. You have created the equation for volume on your own. So good job. So let's do some examples. We have, again, the cylinder volume that you just came up with is pi r squared times height. And whenever you have letters, numbers right next to each other like this, that means multiply. So we're going to multiply all of these figures. So before we do an example, let's just remind ourselves, what is pi? When you put it into your calculator, you get a long decimal that doesn't repeat, and we round that to 3.14 when we round it to the nearest hundredth place. So if you do not have a good calculator at home, just know that you will always multiply by 3.14. And going forward in the next assignments, it'll be good for you to just always multiply by 3.14 so that it doesn't change your answer from what they want. All right, so back to our example here. So if we wanted to find the volume of this cylinder here, I've already measured it, and the diameter for that circle is 4. So we know that radius is half of the diameter. So what is our radius? And if you said 2, you are correct. So our radius here is 2, and the height of that cylinder is 4 centimeters. So all of these measurements are in centimeters. Okay, so how do we find our volume? we would multiply all of those numbers. So 2, first we need to square it. Then we would multiply that answer times our height, which is 4. Once you are done, you multiply that now number by 3.14, and you have found the volume of this cylinder here, which we'll be working with more this week. So when you find the volume of the cylinder, now we are multiplying several centimeters by each other, right? So when you square something, such as with area of a circle or a rectangle, we call that square feet, square centimeters. So now we are squaring something, and then we are multiplying it by the height. So now we have centimeters times centimeters times centimeters. So instead of having a 2D object that's flat on the ground, we now have a 3D shape forming volume. So whenever you get your final answer here, just know that that is always centimeters cubed or cubic centimeters. All right, we are going to do another example here. So I brought a Campbell's soup can. All right. So when we're looking at this soup can, we can easily find the volume inside. All right. So first we need to find the radius up top. Then we need to find the height. And then we need to remember our equation for volume. All right. So I've already measured that can for you. All right. But I found diameter. So you're going to have to remember how to find radius after that. So we have the radius is from the center to the outside of the circle. And then just to refresh, that new equation for volume is pi r squared times height. Okay, so the diameter of that soup can is 7 centimeters. So we're going to take that 7 centimeters and do what with it? And if you said we are going to cut that amount in half because a radius is exactly half of a diameter, then you are correct. So 7 divided by 2, what do you get? And if you said 3.5, you are correct. So you are going to plug in 3.5 for R, and you are going to plug in 10 centimeters for H. So remember, you have to square that radius first, then multiply by height. All right, so here I've already plugged it in for you so that I wouldn't have to write during the video. So this is our equation for volume. I've plugged in 3.5 for our radius, and I have plugged in 10. So if you are following along, go ahead and calculate that. You can use the calculator on your laptop or a handheld calculator that you have at home. And just make sure that when you're multiplying by pi, you are using 3.14. Go ahead and type in your answer into the blank that I've provided on Google Classroom, and we'll know that everybody has followed along. So thank you guys so much for your time. I hope that that makes sense for your intro to volume. If you want to watch this video multiple times, you are more than welcome, and definitely pause in between if you're following along and writing along. You do not need to, though. Just go to the Google form that I've attached on Google Classroom, and you'll finish that form. Some are multiple choice, some are fill in the blanks for definitions from yesterday, and then you will submit that. So most of your assignments will be done through Khan Academy, MyHRW, and then any Google forms that I send you to fill out. All right, hope that makes sense. Feel free to shoot me an email or a message on Google Classroom if you have any questions. Thank you guys. Have a good night.